My name is Ella. I'm a security specialist here at Microsoft, and I will be your host today. So, for today's agenda, we just have a bit of housekeeping, sharing a few resources, and we are going to then kick off our Beyond Code Exploring Diverse Careers in Tech panel. Before we get started, I'd just like to let everyone know that we'll be recording this session and it'll be posted on YouTube afterwards in order for any other students who may have missed it today to view it later. So the first thing I'd like to remind everyone about is the Microsoft Learn for Student Ambassadors. So if you wish to become a student ambassador, there's a link on the screen right there to apply. If you don't know what it is, this program is designed for students that are passionate about technology and eager to share their knowledge with other students. So you can develop some technical skills, some leadership skills through different projects and workshops and video tutorials. So that's one resource. I'd also like to highlight the Microsoft Student Hub, which contains a bunch of free resources, some of which are in the picture, such as certifications, Azure for Students, the GitHub Student Developer Pack. It's fantastic if you'd like to learn a bit more about software development and also just to practice your skills. So I've got a link on the page there. And as I mentioned before, we'll be uploading this onto the YouTube channel of Michelle Sanford, who has been running this program for a few years now. So there's plenty of old sort of videos that you might want to have a look at. And I can see Michelle has joined today. So welcome, Michelle. So yeah, plenty of technical sessions from previous years as well. We also have the Microsoft Source newsletter, which is curated content from the developer community. So if you're interested in learning about some of the new technologies and wanted to find opportunities to connect with other developers, this is a really good source of information. So there's things like hackathons, technical trainings, and global developer conferences. So if you'd like to sign up to that, you can scan the QR code. We also have a Facebook and LinkedIn group. So if you'd like to keep up to date with upcoming events, then that's where we'll be posting it each month for our monthly meetups. And potentially, if we are hosting in-person events, we'll be posting it on our meetup site here. So we had a few in-person events last year, one particularly last year in Sydney, and there'll be several in Melbourne this year, I think based quarterly, I believe. And so that's all the housekeeping I have today. A lot of different resources. You'll be able to view the video after if you'd like to rescan, so plenty of opportunity there. But I'd like to introduce our panelists for today. So this session is about sharing some non-technical roles in a tech company. A lot of you may be thinking about your journey after university and wanting to join maybe a company like Microsoft or similar, and maybe aren't sure about the different career pathways. And often there are a lot of different pathways that we don't know about that are non-technical, which may be more suited to your liking. So we've got Alex, Jahan, and Erica joining us today. Before, I think we should start off with a few introductions. So maybe Alex, will start with you. Can you just do a quick introduction of yourself about what you do and your role, please?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ella. Thanks for having me. Nice to meet you all. My name's Alex Georgia. So I'm a solution engineer at Microsoft. I guess like casting back a little bit, I studied software engineering at UNSW and commerce, and I think probably initially thought I'd be like in a tech role. By the end of the degree, I was like, well, I don't want to be coding all day. What other careers exist outside of that? And I found myself at an internship at Microsoft, which is where I started my career. Worked across a few roles. Right now, I'm in a solution engineer role for AI and apps. This means I get to talk to giant Australian and New Zealand customers about what their business problems are and help them translate it to the Microsoft technology, which technology can help them solve their problems, which I quite enjoy doing. And we can unpack it a little bit more as the session goes on. But should I throw to Erica? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Erica.
Thanks, Alex. Maybe I'll also just share a bit more about my origin story as well. So similar to Alex, I also studied at UNSW. I did an information systems degree, and I also had anticipated that I'd go into a coding role by the end of my degree, but very fortunate to have landed an internship and then a graduate position at Microsoft. And it took me down a career pathway that was very different to what I had initially anticipated to be and to have gone down. So I am a go-to-market manager for our business application product portfolio. And so really focus on driving not only the strategy, but the execution on how we present our products and how we sell our products to customers across Asia. And so the analogy that I always like to give when trying to explain the go-to-market role is I'm sure people have, a MacBook, although I shouldn't be, hopefully no one from the Surface team is on this call. But for example, someone from the Apple headquarters team would essentially set the strategy on how a MacBook might go to market or might sell to various customers across the globe. So they might sell their product through the online channels, their retail channels, as well as um, uh, through their direct stores. And so what we do locally as a go-to-market manager is that we take the strategy that's set by the headquarters and then we say, hey, in Australia, we want to partner up with JB Hi-Fi. We also want to focus on partnering up with specific Apple stores, for example, in Pitt Street Mall and Chatswood, to run specific events. And then we might want to run specific education campaigns as part of our online business here in Australia. So that's how I like to break down what a go-to-market manager does. And the only reason why I use the MacBook example is because, I assume lots of people on this call, and lots of students on this call uses MacBooks as well.
That's a great breakdown, Erica. I think when I first joined, maybe just my background, but I was a bit confused about what go-to-market meant versus marketing. So that's a really good explanation and analogy of that. And Jahan, you want to go next?
Absolutely. And I appreciate you having me as well. And as Erica put it, I will also talk about my origin story, but let's first talk about what I currently do. So I'm a partner development manager, as that's my role title. But what it essentially means is I am a account executive in easier terms for our partners, right? And let me take a second to explain what partners also mean to Microsoft, right? So what does a partnership mean, and what type of partners I look after? So if you think about Microsoft as this massive company, we're good at many things, but the one thing that we actually hope other organizations, aka our partners, can actually help us on is services. So we actually rely on our partners to go and deliver on this great things that our sellers are very, very good at selling. And so they go and implement and also manage on our behalf. So the partners essentially think about what my job is to make sure that we're able to create these mini Microsofts that are able to then go and essentially scale on our behalf, right? Because in a sense, every customer is a Microsoft customer in some shape or form, whether you're using Windows, you're using Microsoft Office, Word, etc. So we cannot get to everyone. We need other small mini Microsofts to be able to go do that. So that's essentially partners in a very, very, explain it like I'm five type of scenario.
Jahan, do you want to
Now,
just
my
name
background.
maybe do you want to just name a couple of partners that the students or uni students
Yeah,
might be aware of, like the
yeah,
GSIs?
sure. Yeah, sure. So I actually look after our global system integrator partners. Global meaning they are not only here in Australia and New Zealand, but they sit across the whole globe. For example, I look after KPMG. I look after TCS, Tata Consulting Services. So these are some big partners, but I look after their Australia and New Zealand business. And essentially, I'm responsible for all of the Microsoft sales that go through that partners, whether it's the services revenue. There's also another aspect of it, which is the licensing revenue to Microsoft as well. So it's a sales role. It's not a technical role. But if I go and look into my background, I do come from a fairly technical background. So for the past, I'd say 13, 14 years, I've had a technical role. So I've done tech for quite a while. I actually started as doing psychology in university. So it's also very different from sales and from tech. But I got into tech fairly quickly in my career by doing some certifications at the time. And so very, very different. But I think the one thing that I also want to touch on is, and it's turning into a very long intro, so I'll end it with the fact that I've actually been back at Microsoft 3 times, right? So this is the third time that I've actually just returned to Microsoft a year ago. So there's a lot of opportunities. If you were to choose Microsoft or any other company, as long as you sort of leave on a good note, you're able to return back, right? So I started in 2017 in Canada, worked at Microsoft for just about a year, and then I left Microsoft, and then I later joined Microsoft in Australia in 2018. And then I left in 2023, went to Optus for a bit, and then I just came back a year ago. So, there's a lot of opportunities when it comes to specifically Microsoft and companies that are similar. You're able to kind of leave and come back.
That's great, Jahan. I think it's really important to define the partners. There's a lot of different definitions out there of what that means. I guess sort of broad, just quick question. How many people do you know that have maybe joined from a partner ecosystem and then come to Microsoft? Has that been quite a lot of your colleagues at the moment? For everyone, Erica, Alex? Is that a common pathway,
Yeah,
potentially?
super comment. So yeah. In fact, I would think of Microsoft as a platform, and a platform in many ways. And I think the three of us are probably good examples of that. It's a platform in the sense that our partners exist in this network and build businesses deploying Microsoft services and helping customers be successful on Microsoft. It's a platform in the sense that, and if you just look at the three of us, you can build a career within Microsoft, and people, as Jahan said, leave and come back, or in Erica's scenario, move across very different functions and build out different skill sets. And then it's also a platform for our customers to build things and achieve their goals. So I think that there's like positioning of Microsoft as a platform for everyone and organizations to achieve more or to do more, like successful, like high impactful things with their career, their life, or their work, like what they're actually trying to produce, is a really nice way to think of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jahan, yes, you are Mr. Worldwide. I like that. That's fun. I guess sort of moving on from this, I think a lot of you had technical skills in the past, or a technical background of some sort, which a lot of students can relate to, coming from either a computer science degree or maybe they wanted to sort of pivot into tech. Maybe just to Alex again, what are some of the like top 3 skills in your solution engineer role, which isn't a software engineer? I think that distinction needs to be clear, which maybe surprised you, and what your day-to-day looks like with that skill.
Yeah, thanks, Alice. So yeah, as you call I'm not a software engineer, so I don't spend my whole days coding. My job is to make our customers successful on our platform, which means understanding how all the different components are strung together for them to build something on it. Some people in my role are very technical, what we would call very technical, but on Teams, for example. So they're not coding at all. They're understanding the ins and outs of, or they're not regularly coding, but they're understanding the ins and outs of Teams, what Teams' technical capability is, how customers can do what they need to do on Teams. So I think, yeah, good call out there on like kind of distinguishing from what is a software engineer role, which we consider technical, and probably when I was at uni, I thought that's what technical meant, to what industry defines as technical. The top skills that I think are really valuable, I'd say they're not the technical ones at all. It's the soft skills. So for starters, like you could have the smartest person who knows the product like in and out. If you can't communicate it well, then you won't be successful in a role like a software solution engineer. So it's like communication, making complex things seem really simple to customers, and helping them solve problems in that way as well, because they understand the technology, if they understand their problem the best, then they can kind of join the dots. So I'd say communication's a key one. The second one would just be perhaps I call it like corporate diplomacy, like understanding how big organizations work, all the different characters, building relationships with people, understanding how programs work, different things that need to happen, like the project management side for something to kick off, I think is really important in a role like this as well. And then the third part is the technical skills. And it's not so much being able to build something on the cloud. While it's important to know how to do it so that you show up with some confidence and can build a trust relationship with the customer, it's really important to know what the technical capabilities of the different components are and how they all string together to make a really cohesive solution. Because when I'm talking to customers, they're not coming to me with, I want to I want to deploy an Azure OpenAI endpoint. It's, well, they come to me with, I want to build an agent, and I will need a number of services to do that. I need Microsoft Foundry, but I also need App Service, but I also need, some governance and security. And so I think that the technical breadth, understanding how lots of tech components come together to solve a business problem, is the third thing I'd call out as really important in my role.
Yeah,
Can I just
fantastic.
touch on that as well, Ella? Like just to kind of give because Alex touched on a great point here. That's quite understated at times, right? So I've sort of seen the evolution through my journey, yes, of 16 years in the field, that my gray hair or the lack of hair show. That what used to be technical is very different than what's technical now, right? So when we look at when I started, everything was very much on premise. You had a lot of technical discussions that were deeply rooted in sort of either coding or, hey, we are looking at deploying or building the solution, and even to do an upgrade of an enterprise system required like 6 months of planning, and then 6 months, like a week of downtime, and then bringing it up, and so on and so forth. So it was a lot of work, and you really needed to be deeply technical, right? So now in this world of the cloud, you don't need to have those very, very deep technical skills with 10 different certifications for a particular technology. That conversation has shifted to a lot of what Alex just touched on. Like, what are the business outcomes that we're looking to drive with customers? How are we looking to help them transform through AI? So your technical knowledge doesn't need to be deep, but I think that you also need to start developing more of your soft skills. And your soft skills is what's going to help you with those technical discussions. And of course, the stuff that you study as well will really, really help you in that conversation.
And also adding to Jahan and Alex's point around that soft skills and also understanding how to orchestrate and manage stakeholders across the business, I think definitely in a non-technical role, that's a really important skill set to develop because you work with such a range of different types of roles. So from super technical people to marketing people to even finance teams as well. So really understanding what really matters to each individual or each team is something that is really important to develop in some of these maybe non-technical roles. And I would actually say that as you go through some of the projects and especially team projects in university, it actually helps you quite a bit to develop those fundamental skill sets of how do you work with a range of different working styles and also personalities. And it really does give you a great learning ground to experiment and test before you join a corporate career or whatever career you pursue after university as well.
I know there's a lot of people that might say like the group work at university isn't their favorite part of university, but do you think how should people manage that, and really, make the most of that experience so that when they do go into the workforce, that it's actually valuable to them, they've actually learned something rather than just hating on it when they're at uni? Do you have any advice there, Erica?
That's a great question. I think to your point, I think team projects and teamwork has sometimes been the bane of people's existence as they go through university. But I do like my biggest advice around that is just experiment. And what I mean by experiment is, hey, take up a leadership role in some of these team projects, or take up different roles when you go through these different team projects that you might not have wanted to do before, because the best thing about university is that it's a very safe ground to experiment and really be okay with making mistakes and learning from it quickly. And not saying that you can't do that in corporate, but I think in university you have the opportunity to do it quite often because you are doing 3 to 4 subjects every single trimester or semester, and you get exposure to, a lot of different types of projects and team work that you can, you can understand whether or not you like working in those particular domains or not.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think
think
it's
that sorry, you go first.
no, you go ahead. I was just gonna
I was just gonna comment as well. I think there's an analogy there with regards to group projects and networking and building your network.
Mm.
I think that is so key in today's day and age, building your network. Because if you look at myself and Erica and Alex as well, we've all had multiple roles within Microsoft, right? And the only way really is to get into and identify what we'd call, group projects within other teams. So if we like to start networking or start talking to people in other teams that we potentially want to go into, we start up a group project with them, right? So I absolutely dreaded group projects in university as well. But I think that if I could go back, I would pay a lot of attention to that, because I think the skills that you learn out of that and the network that you're able to build will really help you.
I think that's a good point. I think maybe it's reframing it to be, networking opportunity, looking at the future. Like university is ground zero for the people you meet. Maybe some of the people in your group project, maybe someone you work with down the line. I think people forget about that sometimes. Um, Alex, were you going to say
Yeah,
something? Yeah.
yeah. I just want to like it's different motivation as well. I feel like if you're anything like me at uni, the motivation is like, let me get to the end of semester and pass and like just get through. And the group assignment is a hurdle that you have to pass to get there. Whereas you start your career and you realize this is it. Like this is the next several decades of my life. And the only way I get through this is if I enjoy it. So you start to have fun in the work that you do, and you or at least I started caring a lot more about the work that I'm doing and like the output that I'm producing. So I think that the motivation is very different. You might not enjoy group projects because it's just a means to an end. But then when you're in the workforce, you find a job that gives you a lot of energy and you really do enjoy.
I do have to agree with that. I think as well, like Microsoft as well is just a big group project when you think about it. Like different departments have different functions. And I guess the question now is how do you guys all work together? So you've got go-to-market, the solution engineers, PDMs. How do those all interact, and maybe how do you perceive each other within that group? When if you like use it as an analogy, a group project within Microsoft. Maybe Erica, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Ella. So as a go-to-marketer, we are uniquely placed in the sense of we get to work from an end-to-end perspective. So we one of our key focuses of our role is to really understand what's working well and what's not working well. And in order to do that effectively, we have to essentially work and analyze how we present our products from a pre-sale standpoint, from a technical standpoint, and then even from a support or post-sale standpoint. And so I get to talk to a range of different types of teams across the business, not only within, Australia or within Asia, but actually with our engineering teams as well, in corporate. And so I think being able to wear all those different hats, and understanding, what are the key priorities and focuses for each team, is the way that I approach the conversations with various stakeholders across the business. Sometimes, just going to be transparent here, sometimes it does get a bit overwhelming because of the number of stakeholders and people we talk to across the business, but it's really cool to get that breadth of understanding across, how us, for example, how do we support our customers once they've purchased a product? Are we giving them the right level of support and services for them to be able to love the product and buy more of our products in the future? What does our marketing, our branding say, and how is that resonating across our Asia customers as well? Is that something that we need to localize more for our Japan market or for our, Australian market? So we get into really cool conversations like that across the business. Alex, I might pass that on to you, the question on to you next.
Yeah, I mean, I work across different functions because I've worked with both Jahan and Erica across those different functions. So, like for me, it's really important to understand. As a solution engineer, I need to know what resources, whether it's funding channels or slide packs or communities or feature updates there are. And Erica, or the equivalent in Erica's team, helps me understand that. So I'm not having to consume like from 15 different places. Erica's function makes it a lot easier for me to understand everything, the big picture. And then the customers I work with are working with partners all the time. And like I can't just knock on the door of like a EY or KPMG or Accenture and say, hey, like let's align, let's coordinate together as we go, like help this customer on this project. I need to connect in with someone who has relationships within those partners, and the PDM role, the role Jahan's in, is very well placed to do that. They can connect me with the right person. They can make sure we're fully aligned. There's no miscommunications, and everyone is showing up as one unit, as a collaborative team, so the customer has a really good experience. So yeah, lots of working closely together with very different functions to my own.
Awesome. I think both Erica and Alex really covered the sort of actual roles, but so I'll take a more holistic approach to the question. And the one thing that keeps bringing me back to Microsoft is 1/3 of our role is actually dependent. And when we do our year-end reviews, it's actually a part of it, which is how did you drive success through others? So it really then takes away from that individualistic aspect of it and the competitive nature of some people, which I'll put my hand up first. I used to be one of them, where I used to think that, what is it that I need to do more? What do I need to do to get ahead? What do I need to do to get my next job, my next role, etc.? Microsoft really changed my perspective on all of that. And in multiple ways, right? One is then now I need to start thinking about how can I bring others along with the journey. But then at the same time, it opens up this whole new world of, actually, there's so many other people that will help me to drive my goal as well. So I can actually rely on people, because it's not just in my remit that I need to drive success to others. It's also in their remit. It's in everyone at Microsoft's remit. So I think it really puts things into perspective for me. And I really love that aspect of it. And with that, then you start sort of planning out like, hey, in my day-to-day, in my yearly goals, in my 5-year plan, whatever it is, who is it that's going to help me get there and get there together?
That's a good point. I think as well, like besides from these three different roles, go-to-market, solution engineer, and PDM, are there any other maybe roles that we'd want to give a shout out to about we're exploring those non-technical roles. I know we have specialists, like I'm a security specialist, for example. Do you work with any other particular roles that might be an interesting pathway for students to explore other than yourselves? So open question. Throw them out there.
Ooh, that's there's so many roles. There's so many
What
roles.
what about what
Um,
do you want to do next, or what's something you've considered doing? Maybe that's a good interesting way to phrase it.
Alex, you
Yeah.
first.
So if I maybe take a step back and talk about what I did before this role,
Yeah.
was I worked in the partner team as a partner solution architect. So my role then was helping our partners build up their technical skill set and capability so that they're able to help
He is
And you
frozen.
dropped out.
the
Yeah.
customers all the right materials, resources, and knowledge that they need for the customer to be successful. Oh, sorry, are we back?
Yep, you're back.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. So yeah, like in that role, I was working with partners. It was probably um, like less technical than the role that I was in now, because there was a little bit more enablement and strategic and working out how to build a practice. And then I decided to then move into a solution engineer role, which because I wanted to be customer facing. So suddenly moving laterally is an option. Um, sorry, I've just derailed from the question, which is what are the other roles? I guess the partner solution architect is another role. I'd say of a lot of these different roles, there's like maybe realistically 80% is the same. It's still working with similar people. You're still selling similar technology, but the 20% that's different is a really important 20%. Like in Erica's case, it means that she's spending a lot of time doing like strategy and the go-to-market plans and looking at numbers. And for Jahan, it's about relationships and having like hosting big events and connecting with executives. And then there's like other roles in marketing. There's like customer success roles that work closely with customers to make sure that they're getting the most out of their Microsoft agreement as well. And then there's some other like random roles in the peripherals. Maybe that's not a nice thing to say about them, but like there's recruiters at Microsoft, there's HR at Microsoft, there's a finance team at Microsoft that just looks at like the numbers and how funding goes around and things like that. There's executive assistants, there's business managers. There are so many roles. It's such a giant organization, and I'm only even talking about the sales side. We go into like the product side. There's product managers. There's software engineers. There's yeah, so many roles that exist. As I said before, it's a platform where you can do so many different things. And the best way to know what all those different things are is to get in, find a role that resonates with you. And then once you're in, it's a lot easier to understand what those other opportunities are like.
Absolutely. No, it's a huge organization, and there's so many different roles that aren't technical that maybe people have never heard of. Like I hadn't have heard of a cloud solution architect, a partner development manager. I've only been here for about 6 months, so these are still terms that I'm learning. So even I'm learning a lot from this conversation. So I think the point of this whole panel was to discover those roles. We've put out a lot of different sort of stories. There's a lot of different roles that maybe if students are interested, they can research those more, getting an understanding by, looking at job descriptions and what they actually do, I think is a good step forward for that exploration stage. We've got about 10 minutes left, so I think maybe we can open the floor to see if there's any questions from the audience. And if not, maybe we can continue with a few other ones. But please raise your hand or chuck in the chat if you've got any questions, and we can go from there. I know we did have a. Oh, yep.
Yeah. I just wanted to comment on that as well. Like,
Yeah.
I think the Debarshi comment that's just blew my mind that she's 14 years old, and is able to do that. It's just, yeah, I'm still trying to get over that. But Michelle put a really good reply to that. To be honest, if you are at that age, and are doing cool things, continue to do that, continue to test, break things. You will not have an issue with regards to recruiters, because I think if you look at the future and where we're headed with tech, it seems good for now at least. So that's awesome. Good to hear.
And Debashi, sorry to interrupt you, Ella. I know we're talking about non-technical roles, but we actually have a quantum research team that's based out of the US. So, if that's something that you're ever interested in, that could be a potential pathway that you pursue. And it's a really exciting space to be in because of all the innovation that's happening. And, there is very heavy investment by a lot of big tech companies like Microsoft in the future of what that looks like. So it's great that you're developing those skill sets and driving those projects right now.
I think as well, AI has been such a big conversation recently, but quantum computing is still happening in the background. There's still a lot of investment going to it. I didn't know we had a section for quantum computing, but very interesting. See, my ignorance has no end. So I think if there's any other questions, maybe just as a final one. So, oh wait, does MSA 2026 already kick off? What happened next? Yeah, so the Microsoft Student Accelerator this year kicked off in March, and we will be doing monthly meetups. So there'll be an online session like this each month. We may have a few in-person events as well. So if you want to keep updated, then please look on the LinkedIn and we'll keep you updated there. But yeah, I think just to sort of wrap it all up,
I think someone's
ultimately,
got their hand up as well.
oh, yeah,
A begin. If you want to come off
please
mute.
do, yes.
Do we have them? They can unmute themselves, right?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, first of all, hello everyone for the session. Thank you so much. Really insightful and very amazing so far. I joined a bit late. Yeah, one thing I wanted to ask you guys is about interview confidence. How you guys aced your interviews while you worked at Microsoft and all, and were you guys nervous and how did you prepare for it in the best possible manner?
I don't mind starting that one because I think the one thing that I'll touch on is that I don't know about the others. I'll let them comment. I still get nervous for interviews. No matter how many you go through, it could be 100, 200, but every time you have an interview, you will get the nerves, right? I'll leave the advice short, which is do as many interviews as you can, continue doing it, and that is the best way to build confidence, and then to land a job, which is your first job, then your second, your third, and so on and so forth. So continue doing it. It's like anything else. You like riding a bike or picking up a hobby or doing anything that you slowly just get better and better, even if it's like public speaking that you want to get better at. That over time it gets better, but you'll still always get butterflies. You always still get the nerves.
Yeah.
Alex and Erica, if any of you want to.
Yeah, no, plus one Jahan of getting those nerves for sure during an interview. The other perspective that I would like to share is it shows that you care. So, nerves are not always a bad thing. It shows that you're really invested in the process. But I'm a big believer in preparation. And so not only doing your research, but actually having a interview buddy. So it could be a friend or it could be a fellow classmate helps a lot. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for Copilot. So even using Copilot to help you interview is something that I've also used as well, and it is a great way to interview and in a safe space as well.
Yeah, a bit of a funny story here. When I interviewed to Microsoft, I didn't know that I was being interviewed, and I think that made me a lot more relaxed. So the reason I say that, so the context there is that I connected with the recruiter and then they scheduled all these things called coffee catch-ups in my calendar, and I thought, great, this is a chance to talk to people at Microsoft. I'm not in the interview phase yet, but I get to ask them questions about their role, be really curious, and also be really comfortable because I didn't think there was anything at stake. And then I joined these calls like in a hoodie. I was sitting on a couch. It was during COVID, and I was just like having a yarn. I was like, "Yeah, like tell me more about you." It was a really fluid conversation. I wasn't nervous as a result of me not thinking it was an interview. And then they ended up going fairly well because I was able to build connection with them. So now when I do actual interviews, kind of years down the track, I try to channel that same energy of actually, like, this isn't a question and answer forum. This is an opportunity to meet someone, opportunity to just have a chat, learn more about someone. I've got no reason to be nervous about that. Like, yes, I'm going to come in prepared. Yes, I'm going to have stories to tell, like specific projects, like questions that I know that I want to ask. But just try to, like, I know for me, getting out of my head and just thinking of it as an opportunity to meet someone, learn more about them, helps my approach.
That's a good point.
And I think just the last bit, which is as an interviewer as well, because I've interviewed quite a lot of people, and just going back to the nerves thing because that comes up a lot, is that we also assume that the other person has nerves. Like, even doesn't matter what position, it could be a very high position that they are applying for. We give them the benefit of doubt that, hey, we will, you know, we can understand that there will be some sense of nerves there.
We had 2 more hands up and we've got 1 more minute. So maybe if we want to pop those questions in the chat and we can respond to that just while we're finishing off answering. I can't see the names of those
Thank you,
people who've got
guys.
their hands.
And I began, sorry, just another point as well. Definitely use LinkedIn to also connect with people in the company and the team that you're applying for. It takes a while to do that research. And I think at Microsoft, I think we're a bit more lucky in the sense that we can kind of go into our org chart to see, but definitely use LinkedIn to your advantage because what the interviewers and managers from my experience really appreciate is when you've also connected with people in that particular division or that particular team to really get a grounded understanding of, you know, what is their top of mind, you know, what are they focusing on at the moment, what are the gaps that they're currently experiencing in their team, and how can you help them fulfill some of those gaps as well.
Thank you so much for the insights.
SC has their hand up next.
Yep.
Should I unmute or maybe put it in the chat? Like, I'm happy to do either.
No, you can tell us now.
Go ahead.
Through.
Sure. So, like, I think it might have kind of been touched on before, but I just had a really almost quick questions. Like you already mentioned it, like AI is a growing field, right? It's like a rapidly accelerating field. So I guess I'm just curious because I'm a university student, and like AI kind of has something to do with what I'm studying right now. But what are you doing like within and out of the scope of your roles to like stay informed? Because it's a field that keeps changing, keeps growing, keeps accelerating. So just curious about that.
Yeah, 2 things. First, on like a meta level, like absolutely, it's changing so fast. So I think the greatest skill set or the greatest thing of value right now is just continually learning. And it sounds like you're definitely in the right space to be able to do that. Like the fact that you're asking the question at all. And then from a little bit more of a practical lens, like what would I do to stay informed? I read news articles, I keep across tech, I look at like social media feeds, which unfortunately is how I get some information. But I also get really hands-on. So I like to play around with GitHub Copilot quite a bit, build things out. I know that helps me understand things. If I can build it and deploy it, then I understand it. So that's something that works for me, getting hands-on, but I know it's different for different people as well.
Yeah, and it's to be honest, it's overwhelming for us as well at Microsoft because there are so many new features. Every time we open it up, there's a new feature that we're not across it. And sometimes our partners and customers are the ones that are telling us, and we feel a bit embarrassed that we're not able to keep up. So it's not just you, it's definitely out there. But Alex, definitely hit the nail on the head, which is just, yeah, hey, try to keep up with it as best as you can in the sources that you trust. I like watching a lot of YouTube videos of it. So whenever there's a new model out or you know, a competitor product out, because there's always this race now, right? With this AI age, there's been a bit of a race who on who gets the best models, who's doing the best things and the great things, and yeah, keep up with it however you can, and definitely test it and play around with it and break it if you can.
Yeah. Sorry, one more quick thing to add, and then we'll go to Debashi for the last question before we wrap up. Just-in-time learning. Like, you don't need to know everything. You're never going to know everything, but you can learn things as you go along. When a customer asks a question, then I go find the information if it's an area that I don't already know. So just-in-time learning is very, very key to being able to like have a grapple on the information you need to know. Debashi?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
We can.
Yep.
So I'm just saying that how I'm gonna show this project to Microsoft any place, so I can show this kind of project to Microsoft. It's me.
Yeah.
I I don't have a good answer for this. Perhaps Michelle. I know Michelle's posted in the chat some like research hubs. Because Microsoft is giants, we don't have a lot of direct exposure to those. Michelle, do you know if there's any like MSA to research connections?
Yeah, Michelle's there.
Can you say it again?
You're good.
Maybe
No,
suggestion would be we continue
sorry, I was going to
to
say we can get back to you. That's something that we will happily take offline and work out, because I don't think any of us are across a forum at the moment that exists, but I'm sure there's got to be something. So appreciate the great question, and we would love to see what you're building. I would personally like to see what you're building as well, because I think that's very, very cool. At 14, what was I doing at 14? My God, probably sleeping a lot. So it's really cool that you're doing this stuff. We'll get back to you on what we can do. Please connect with us on LinkedIn as well, right?
Yeah, I
so
can share my LinkedIn profile. I mainly post everything in LinkedIn. Just
yeah,
give me some time.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. But we will we'll get back to you on if there is a specific forum that exists as well.
Okay.
Yep. I think that might be. Thank you. I think that might be the wrap now. We're 5 minutes over, but I think we had a lot of questions, which I think is great. Lots of engagement. Thank you, Alex, Erica, and Jahan for joining us today. Appreciate you taking the time. I know you're very busy, and I know Easter's coming up as well. So try to squish everything in together, but really do appreciate it. And I'm sure the students on here appreciate it as well. But yeah, I think at this point, I have a feedback form as well. If anyone would like to provide any feedback on this session, we'll be having another one next month. So these are monthly sessions, as I said before. But I guess for that, I will leave you to it and have a lovely Easter.
Please fill out the
stay
feedback.
Safe.
Yeah, and even if it's about getting Alex's internet upgraded to a better one, please put it all in there, whatever you need to tell us how the session went. Thank you all. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much, Ella and Michelle.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Bye all.